Hello everybody, I hope you're doing well as usual. Today I'm going back into question 15, or actually question 14 of session 15, and that has to do with the seeking of the self. This is a question that I covered a while ago in the beginnings of the Law of One series, and I wanted to revisit it again and talk about what they meant here with this question. And it's the heart of seeking. That's what I love about this question, because it aligns perfectly with what I have been devoting myself to, which is the seeking of the self. That's what the Law of One always directed us to do, and that's what all the mystics in the past and all the great sages have pointed to. And so in this question, we're going to do like last time, and we're going to read it directly from the website, not from the slideshow that I usually have. And I will leave a link direct to the question in the description if you want to go read it. So here we are on session 15, like I said. And Don is asking about a question from yesterday. Yesterday meaning, I believe this was January 23rd or 22nd. And so around those days, it was the session prior. And they were talking about the, let me go back to my face. They were talking about I think it was the Integratron, something like that Jorvin Tassel, I think it was his name, he was creating. It was a technology for longevity. And so Ra, in this conversation, of course, I mean, that's my interpretation, they felt like it was going in a direction that it's not aligned with the Law of One. And so they said specifically this, because Don, remember that at the beginning of the sessions, Don had a lot of curious questions on, these topics that were, I don't know how to call them, but they were just, sensationalist stuff, wow things. And so Ra started refining, obviously, Don's questions. And so here Don is saying, yesterday you stated, the harvest is now. There is not at this time any reason to include efforts upon these distortions toward longevity, talking about this machine that could prolong life, but rather to encourage distortions towards the heart of self. Beautiful. For this, which resides clearly in the violet ray energy field, the violet ray energy field will determine the harvest of each mind-body-spirit complex. And so he says, could you tell us how to seek, or the best way to seek, the heart of self? So in the question itself, Don is asking how best way to seek the heart of self. Because Ra, in essence, said at the beginning, we are talking about the Law of One because the harvest is now. Like, there is not, I mean, this sounds a little bit sensational actually, but there's actually not more time. We're here to harvest the self, to harvest this planet. And the harvest, as we know, is the upgrading into fourth density. And so let's talk about harvest a little bit. The process of evolution in planet Earth has changed from, let's go back 75,000 years ago, where animals were able to progress to self-awareness. So the primates that were our ancestors became self-aware, and that brought the egoic state of I am something. And this I am something has been in play for 75,000 years, and that's coming to an end because the new vibration of awareness is going into universal awareness, which is what we're feeling right now, this whole awakening that's happening, and the spiritual boom, we should call this era, this generation. This spiritual boom is all about the changes that are happening on Earth. And so Ra is saying the harvest is now. What does the harvest mean? It means that the people who represent a specific vibration in awareness will have, let's say, at one stage, the vast majority, it seems, of current population will have to repeat their density, but they won't be able to repeat it as they have in the past here on planet Earth, but go to another planet. So this is the cosmology of the law of one. However, those who have a vibration that reaches a specific range will be able to harvest themselves or graduate into fourth density, which is the new vibration of the planet. And then there's going to be, I call it a fourth density party here, which is the transition to fourth density. But this transition goes into positive and negative. That's the polarization path. So the harvest will be in the positive for the whole planet, and for those who are negative, will also have to go to a fourth density negative planet. That's my summary of the harvest. I know there's many questions and doubts that come out of this, but that's the brief summary. The important thing is that because harvest is now, then every single human who is alive is being either harvested into fourth density or they're repeating third density. And as time goes on, we don't know how long it's going to be. Everybody's going to be harvested harvested to third density repeat cycle or to fourth density new. And just as a side note, all the wanderers, it's my assumption, unless they have been loaded with karma and have to repeat their density, they will go back to their original or home density. So that takes care of the harvest. Why is the harvest important? Because, like they said, there is no other effort but to seek the self, because seeking the self is what promotes polarity. In the positive path, seeking the self means seeking your heart, looking at the heart of self. And so this is what they say, that this which resides clearly in the violet ray energy field, which means the amount of polarity that you build up in yourself, is going to determine the harvest of each mind-body-spirit complex. So the efforts in consciousness are being focused on the heart of self. So Don, very perceptive and going on the proper line of questioning for Ra, he asks, well, what's the best way to seek the self? And so Ra says the following. After their usual I am Ra, they say, we have given you this information in several wordings. However, we can only say the material for your understanding is the self. Beautiful. The mind-body-spirit complex. You have been giving information upon healing, as you call this distortion. This information may be seen in a more general context as ways to understand the self. Well, this makes reference to 5.2 and maybe other sessions. And 5.2 means session 5, question 2, where they talked about healing. You know, the biggest question about healing that we have in the raw material, as far as I understand it. So with that information, I'm going to briefly summarize what they gave there. In essence, know yourself and accept yourself. This is the mind's discipline, the mental disciplines for healing. Know and accept yourself. Then know other people and accept them too, in the same fashion in which you learned about yourself and accepted yourself, which is the inner path. So inner path, to know and accept yourself. Outer path, to know and accept other people, other selves. This is the crucial key point for healing. I think they said that half of the work is mental, the other half is body and spiritual. So I won't go into details there. There's a whole study that we can do with 5.2 and I think 6.2 as well, or 6.1, because they split. It was so long that the question or the answer was like 20 minutes long in channeling. in 5.2. So in any case, that's what they're talking about here. We have given you information about that. This information, the one I'm not sure if they're probably referring to this information that they're going to give, may be seen in a more general context as ways to understand the self. They're either saying this about this answer, what they're going to give, or about 5.2 and other sessions, because they said prior to this, you have been given information about healing, as you call this distortion, and then they say this information may be seen in a more general context as a way to understand the self. In any case, understanding the self is what we care. So let's get into that. They say the understanding, experiencing, accepting, and merging of self and with other self, and finally with the Creator, is the path to the heart of self. Let's make a pause there. You see, understanding, experiencing, and accepting, that's knowing yourself, totally. So once you know, you merge yourself with yourself. There's a lot of selves here, but there's only the self. So the inner path of knowing yourself, it's really what this whole first sentence is referring to. But then, of course, you do the outer path, which is merging with other self, with reality, collapsing duality. And they say finally with the Creator, because you know that once you merge self with other self, then there is no separation. That's what we call the Creator. The Creator is what's doing everything, and you are that point. You are that singularity in which the Creator is creating everything around you. So this is the key point, yes? And then they elaborate a little bit more, saying, in each infinitesimal part of yourself resides the One in all its power. Therefore, we can only encourage these lines of contemplation, always stating the prerequisite of meditation, contemplation, or prayer as a means of subjectively or objectively using or combining various understandings to enhance the seeking process. Without such a method of reversing the analytical process, one could not integrate into unity the many understandings gained in such seeking. So, first they say, know that in each part of yourself resides the One, the Creator, in all its power. Awareness is my reference point for this, because being, the Creator is, and so by being, it is aware, right? It is awareness itself. That's why we use in non-duality these terms interchangeably: self, being, awareness. All of these refer to an experience, if you could call it that, which is of self, selfhood, beingness, awareness. So in each infinitesimal part of what we call ourselves resides awareness, because there is nothing that we are not aware of. And so that takes care of the interpretation of we as beings having awareness permeating everything. Then when they say that they can only encourage these lines of contemplation, meaning understanding, experiencing, accepting, and merging of self, with other self, and with the Creator, being the path of the heart of self, they can encourage these lines of contemplation, always stating the prerequisite of meditation. They also mention contemplation again, prayer, because these are ways of internalizing our seeking. Without this, they say, without this reversing, I love the way they say, a method of reversing the analytical process, because we're always analyzing things. We're using the conscious mind for understanding reality, but we need to reverse this into its source. Who is it that is doing the analysis of reality? So we need to do this. The method of reversing the analytical process is meditation, contemplation, prayer, or any sort of contemplative, I wouldn't call it reflection, but just the settling down of the mind, right? Bringing the agitation of the mind to an end. In 5.2, they said the key to the mental disciplines is silence. That's the key. So without that, we couldn't integrate into unity, into ourselves, all the many understandings gained in such seeking. So once again, this is a way of expressing how to view reality properly through understanding, experiencing, accepting, and merging of self with everything. And in the seeking, right, there is the require for meditation. So this is why there is the unfolding of your experiential continuum, which is your life. And that is as it is. You don't have to change anything. You don't have to, there is no doing that is necessary. Only being in what you are, in your reality. That is the most effective and the path of least resistance. Just being with reality. This is something very hard to accept and do from the Western mind, which is always worried with doing all the time, and changing, controlling, manipulating. So that's fine. You know, that's part of our contemplation as well. If that's what's present, then don't go against it. Just look at it, see how it unfolds. And then from all that doing, you go back to meditation. And so you go out, there is doing on top of being. You analyze that doing, you bring it back. Understanding, experiencing, accepting, and then merging of self with self. That's it. That's all the path of seeking the heart of self. It is the outward path and the inward path. It's a breathing process. It's a beating of the heart process, if you will, too. Always out and then always in. Without this inward process that we call meditation, then there is no such way in which we can integrate all the many things that we're learning into unity. That unity is you. And the more you integrate all of this back to you without the need for an ego to be the intermediary of these stages of experience and being, there is everything is in there. Everything is in this process of just allowing things to come to you and inform your reality. Meditation is the key to this, because it reverses this constant need for analysis and it brings it back to its source. So again, with these questions, we can probably do a whole hour talking about the different things. That's not the point, though. I just wanted to revisit it again and leave you with another interpretation of this and another way for you to contemplate this answer. I hope it was helpful. I will probably cover the mental disciplines in 5.2 next. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you had something of benefit. Let me know in the comments if this is something that you enjoy. And with nothing else to say, I hope you're well. Have a good day, good night, and I'll see you in the next video.